All right, so let's dive into this AI stuff. You sent over some really interesting things,
Uh-huh.
especially that article.
Yeah.
China's DeepSeek AI shatters big tech's U.S. monopoly.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like some pretty big stuff coming out of China that could really shake things up, in the tech world, especially here in the U.S. We
Right.
always hear about like Google, OpenAI
Mhm.
making these huge leaps forward in AI, but
Right.
this time it's a smaller Chinese company called DeepSeek
Right.
that's really making waves.
Yeah.
They've done something pretty incredible. They developed this AI model called R1,
Right.
and some experts are saying it's even more advanced than what we're seeing from the big players.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And get this, they did it for a fraction of the cost.
Yeah, I know.
Like only around $6 million.
Wild.
I mean, U.S. companies are pouring hundreds of billions into AI development.
I know. Crazy, right?
It's insane. And here's the thing.
Yeah.
They made R1 completely open source.
I know.
That's
The
but,
craziest part.
like, anyone can use it, change it, even distribute it for free.
Right.
It's a completely different approach to what we normally see from companies here in the U.S. They like keep everything super secret.
Right.
So what does this mean for the future of AI? What happens when you have this kind of open access?
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear your take on all this.
I think what's so fascinating about this is that DeepSeek is like,
Yeah.
just coming out of nowhere,
Yeah.
And they're basically saying, hey, like, here's this really powerful AI, and we're just going to give it to everyone.
Right.
It's such a direct challenge to how things have always been done.
Yeah.
And it shows a completely different way of thinking between like China and the West when it comes to like how we develop and share technology.
I'm really interested in this whole open sourcing thing.
Yeah.
Can you break that down a bit? Like,
Yeah.
what does that actually mean?
Yeah.
What are the good things and what are the potential downsides?
Yeah. So open source basically means they're making the code behind the AI, like public.
Okay.
Anyone can go in, look at it,
Mm.
mess with it, even use it to make their own stuff.
So it's kind of like a recipe
Yeah.
that anyone can use and tweak.
Exactly. Yeah.
I get it.
And the implications of that are like huge.
Yeah.
Like imagine all the researchers, developers, even students
Mm-hmm.
all around the world who now suddenly have access to this super advanced AI.
Yeah.
It could lead to this like explosion of creativity.
Mm.
Like we might see progress in ways we can't even imagine right now.
That's really exciting.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
But are there risks?
Of course, there are always risks. I mean, one of the big worries is that someone could use it to create, harmful things.
Yeah.
Like autonomous weapons or, systems for surveillance and control.
That's a scary thought.
Yeah.
Are there any like safeguards in
Yeah.
place to prevent stuff like that?
That's one of the big challenges with open source technology in general.
Okay.
You're kind of relying on people being responsible,
Yeah.
using it ethically.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of debate about what kind of regulations or agreements we need
Right.
at a global level to really deal with these risks.
It sounds like we're just at the beginning of a much bigger conversation
Absolutely.
about the future of AI and how we're gonna, control it.
Right.
But the article also talks about how DeepSeek's success is really freaking out the U.S. tech industry.
Hmm.
Does this mean, like,
Yeah.
the U.S. is losing its edge in technology?
I think it's definitely a wake-up call.
Okay.
DeepSeek is showing that Silicon Valley isn't invincible.
Right.
And it makes you wonder if their way of doing things, keeping everything secret and focusing on profits,
Yeah.
if that's really going to work in the future.
The article actually compares this to
Yeah.
the whole Sputnik moment.
Right.
Back in, what was it,
1957.
57, when the Soviet Union launched that first satellite,
Right.
and everyone in the U.S. was, like, totally shocked.
That total panic.
Yeah, and it kickstarted this whole race for, technological dominance.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a fair comparison?
There are definitely some similarities,
Okay.
just like with Sputnik.
Okay.
DeepSeek has shown the U.S. that it's not automatically the leader anymore.
Yeah.
And it's forced us to face the fact that we need to step up our game.
And it's not just about, like, national pride or anything.
Right.
There are real economic consequences to this.
Of course, yeah.
And, even geopolitical ones.
Absolutely. I mean, AI is going to change everything.
Yeah.
Healthcare, education, transportation, even defense.
Yeah.
The countries that lead in AI,
Right.
they're going to have a lot of power in the future.
And the article even pointed out how the stock market reacted to DeepSeek's announcement.
Oh, yeah.
NVIDIA, that big chip maker, they lost like
600 billion.
$600 billion in market value.
Yeah, in one day.
In a single day.
Crazy.
That's pretty wild. It kind of shows how investors are feeling about this whole shift.
Yeah, I mean, they're starting to get nervous.
Yeah.
They're not so sure U.S. companies are going to stay on top.
So we have this small Chinese company doing better than the giants of Silicon Valley,
Right.
creating this cutting-edge AI for way cheaper,
Yeah.
and then giving it away to everyone.
Right.
This feels like it's more than just companies competing.
It's definitely bigger than that.
Yeah.
It's almost like a clash of ideologies.
Yeah, like two different ways of thinking about how the world works.
Yeah, exactly.
You have, like, the U.S.,
Right.
where it's all about private companies
Uh-huh.
protecting their ideas and making as much money as possible.
Right. The classic, like, free market capitalism approach.
Yeah. And then you have China,
Yeah.
where the government's much more involved.
Yeah, they're much more hands-on when it comes to technology and what's good for the country.
And this whole thing with DeepSeek, making R1 open source, it fits perfectly with China's goals.
Exactly.
I want to be the world leader in AI.
Okay.
And they're all about sharing technology and working together.
Yeah.
Now, I know you've looked into China's Made in China 2025 thing.
Uh-huh.
Can you tell us a bit about that and how it connects to all of this?
So Made in China 2025 is basically this big plan that China launched back in, like, 2015.
Okay.
And it's basically like a roadmap for how they want to, like, dominate in key technologies.
Okay.
Like AI, robotics, aerospace, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Renewable energy.
And that's been, like, super controversial.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
The U.S. has been accusing China of all sorts of stuff.
Right.
Like stealing ideas and cheating to reach their goals.
Right, yeah. But what people often miss is that it's also about China wanting to come up with their own innovations, you know, treating their own people and building their own tech ecosystem.
So it's not just about copying or, like, stealing from others.
No, they want to be a global tech powerhouse in their own right.
Okay.
And DeepSeek's success is a perfect example of that.
Okay, so you have this, open source approach from DeepSeek, which is totally different from how a lot of U.S. companies do things.
Yeah.
It really makes you think about,
Right?
the ethics of AI.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, who should benefit from these advancements?
That's a huge question.
Yeah.
Like, should AI be a public good available to everyone?
Yeah.
Or should it be controlled by a few companies who make tons of money from it?
That's a really deep question.
It is, yeah.
And probably one we'll be debating for a long time.
For sure. For years to come.
There's one more thing from the article I wanted to bring up. It mentions that, like, right after DeepSeek released R1, they were hit with a huge cyber attack. The author doesn't say who did it, but it does make you wonder.
Yeah, especially with all the tension between the U.S. and China.
Right.
It's like, was that just a coincidence?
Yeah, it seems a bit suspicious given everything else that's going on.
Totally.
Like this whole tech war,
Yeah.
accusations of spying and countries trying to block each other from getting technology.
Right. It's getting pretty serious.
It's almost like we're headed for, like, a new Cold War.
Yeah, that's a scary thought.
But instead of nukes,
Right.
it's all about AI and stuff.
Exactly, yeah.
Scary.
Yeah.
I need a minute to think about all of this.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in.
We've covered so much already, and I'm looking forward to, like, really digging into some of these topics more.
Yeah, for sure.
In our next segment.
Absolutely. One thing that really jumped out at me from all this stuff was this whole idea of a big tech bubble here in the U.S.
Yeah.
It's like we all just assumed these companies were unstoppable.
It does feel like that's changing.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been growing like crazy for years, right? Valuations through the roof. They're everywhere you look. But what happens if that stops?
Right.
What if investors get spooked?
Well, that's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And the source you sent, it points to some pretty worrying signs. Like, it talks about this thing called the Buffett indicator, which basically compares the total value of the stock market to the size of the economy.
Okay.
And right now, it's at a record high.
Oh, wow.
Even higher than it was back during the dot-com bubble.
Oh, man.
Remember that.
I vaguely remember, yeah.
Late 90s. Didn't end well for a lot of people.
No, not at all.
And it's not just that, like other things, price to earnings ratios, all that stuff. It's pointing in the same direction.
So, like, stocks could be way overvalued.
It's a real possibility.
Yeah.
That they're not actually worth what people think they are.
This source even quotes Jamie Dimon,
the
CEO of JP Morgan.
Yeah, big guy.
Saying that the market's, overvalued.
Right.
When someone like that starts talking...
Yeah, you got to listen.
It's kind of hard to ignore.
And what makes it even riskier is how concentrated the stock market is.
What do you mean?
Like, a few big tech companies, sometimes called the Magnificent Seven, I think make up a huge chunk of the market's total value.
So if they go down...
It could take everything else with them.
Yikes.
Yeah, it's like putting all your eggs in one very fragile basket.
And that's why this whole DeepSeek thing is so important. It shows that, like, even these big companies, they're not untouchable.
Exactly.
They can be beaten.
Someone can come along with a better product, a smarter strategy.
Yeah.
And if investors lose confidence, well...
Yeah, that's not good.
It could get ugly.
The article also talks about this kind of cozy relationship between big tech and the government.
Oh, yeah.
We've all seen those pictures of, Zuckerberg and Musk meeting with politicians and stuff.
Yeah, they definitely have each other's ear.
It's like they scratch each other's backs.
And that's influenced policy in a big way.
Yeah.
Often to the benefit of these big companies.
Right.
And not so much for competition or, innovation.
Yeah.
Like, think about those attempts to ban TikTok.
Oh, yeah.
Or how they protect U.S. electric car makers while making it hard for Chinese companies.
It's like a double standard.
Totally.
We're supposed to love disruption and innovation.
Right. That's the American way. Right.
But only if it comes from, like, the right places.
Exactly. But when it comes from somewhere else, suddenly it's a threat.
And what about this idea that, like, China can't innovate?
Oh, right. Yeah.
That's getting harder to believe every day.
I mean, it's just not true.
Right.
For years, the West has had this kind of arrogant view that China just copies everything, that they can't come up with their own ideas.
I remember reading articles like why China can't innovate and stuff.
Yeah, right. Like it was some kind of law of nature.
It's amazing how much people believed that.
It's just not true.
Yeah.
Look at what they've done with high-speed rail, renewable energy, and now AI.
Yeah.
They're not just catching up.
Right.
They're leading in a lot of ways.
It really is like a Sputnik moment, like the article says.
Yeah, it's a wake-up call for sure.
Yeah.
But it's also a chance, right?
For the U.S.
Yeah, for the U.S. to, like, rethink things.
Yeah.
To become more competitive, more innovative.
And maybe to try working with China.
Yeah.
Instead of always, fighting.
Yeah, a little less confrontation, a little more cooperation.
I really like how DeepSeek made R1 open source.
Yeah, me too.
It's like a totally different way of thinking than what we're used to in Silicon Valley.
It challenges the whole profit above all else mentality.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder if maybe a more elaborative approach to AI might be better in the long run.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe sharing is actually caring.
Maybe so.
That's a big question.
It is.
And I don't think there's an easy answer.
Not at all.
But as AI gets more and more powerful, it's something we definitely need to think about.
Absolutely. And it's not just for, like, politicians or tech companies.
Right.
It's for all of us.
Yeah.
What kind of world do we want to live in with this technology?
It's deep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It gets philosophical pretty quick.
But before we get too deep, there was one more thing I wanted to bring up.
Okay.
From the article about Made in China 2025. China's plan to,
become a tech superpower.
Yeah, take over the world.
World domination through technology.
Not really, but...
Yeah, but it's been criticized a lot by the U.S., right?
Yeah.
But it's also been incredibly successful.
Yeah, I mean, the source even quotes a Bloomberg article that basically says...
What they admit it's working.
Yeah, like, Made in China 2025 has met a lot of its goals.
That's pretty amazing.
Even with all the pushback from the U.S.
Yeah.
It's almost like the U.S. trying to stop it actually made China stronger.
It's funny how that happens sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, by trying to contain them, they kind of push China to become more self-sufficient.
Yeah, to do their own thing.
Exactly. They had to get more innovative, more resilient.
So now you have DeepSeek.
Right.
This company that no one in the West really knew about coming out of nowhere and releasing this AI that's, like, mind-blowing.
And for free, too.
This is crazy.
It's a huge shift.
Yeah.
DeepSeek is going against the grain.
Yeah.
Challenging the way things have always been done.
Yeah. It's exciting.
It is.
But it's also kind of scary, right?
Of course.
Yeah. Like, what does this mean for the future?
The big questions.
Yeah.
But it also shows the power of open collaboration. Maybe that's the key to, real progress in AI.
Who knows?
We'll see. But it's definitely something to watch.
Definitely. This whole conversation's been, like, eye-opening.
Yeah.
We're seeing a huge shift in, like, who's in control of technology.
No doubt. It's a whole new era.
And it's both exciting and scary.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
We have no idea what's going to happen next.
But it's full of possibilities.
It all comes back to DeepSeek. Right?
Yeah, they're a good example of what's happening.
It's not just about China or the U.S.
No.
It's about how we approach technology.
Yeah.
What choices we make.
The values we prioritize.
Yeah, the things we decide are important.
And what kind of future we want to create.
It's pretty amazing how China's become this tech powerhouse, right? Like, it didn't just happen overnight.
No, not at all. It's been a long game.
Yeah.
A strategy they've been working on for decades.
And this idea that, like, China can only copy stuff.
Right, yeah.
That's just, like, totally outdated.
Yeah, it's a lazy take.
Yeah, what we're seeing now, it's like years of planning.
Yeah, tons of investment in education and research.
Yeah.
And this laser focus on tech.
The article we've been talking about, it even says that. Like, the West just didn't take China seriously for a long time. They kept dismissing them as just imitators.
Oh, they could only copy. They can't innovate.
Yeah.
That kind of thinking.
And it seems like that was a big mistake.
Oh, yeah, a huge miscalculation.
Yeah, like, while everyone was busy writing China off, China was building this, like, incredible tech ecosystem.
They were training their own people, investing in research, building from the ground up.
And Made in China 2025, that plan we talked about.
Right. That really shows, like, how ambitious they are.
Totally. They laid out this roadmap for how they wanted to become a leader in, like, all these key areas.
And they've done pretty well.
Yeah, amazingly well.
Even with all the, the trade wars and the sanctions and all that stuff.
They face a ton of pressure from the U.S.
Yeah.
But they just kept going.
It's kind of like the U.S. trying to, like, contain China.
Yeah.
Actually made them stronger.
I think there's definitely some truth to that.
Yeah.
They had to become more self-reliant, more innovative.
So now we have DeepSeek.
Right.
This company that, like, nobody really knew about.
Yeah.
Just coming out of nowhere.
Out of the blue.
Releasing this this AI that's just, like, blows everything else away.
It's a game changer, for sure.
And they're just giving it away.
I know, right?
It's wild.
It's a totally different way of thinking.
It really is.
Yeah, it's like they're not just trying to, make a quick buck.
It's not just about profits. It's about something bigger.
It makes you wonder if, like, maybe this open approach is actually the better way to do things.
It might be the key to unlocking, like, even faster progress.
Yeah, and it's not just about the tech itself, right?
No, definitely not.
This whole thing has, like, huge implications for geopolitics.
Absolutely. China's rise as a tech power. It's changing the world.
Yeah, the balance of power is shifting.
For sure. It's a new world order.
And, like, why should the listener care about all this?
Because it affects everyone.
Yeah.
This isn't just some abstract competition between countries.
Right.
These technologies like AI, they're going to shape our lives.
Yeah, like, in every way.
They'll change how we work, how we get healthcare, how we learn, how we travel, even how wars are fought.
So the choices we make now.
Right now, yeah.
About how we develop and use this stuff, it's really important.
It'll determine what kind of future we have.
A future of, like, progress and everyone benefiting, or, like, conflict and inequality.
Exactly. It's a fork in the road.
This has been a really amazing deep dive.
It has, yeah.
We've learned so much.
So much to think about.
It's clear that we're in the middle of this, like, huge technological revolution.
Absolutely. Everything's changing.
Yeah. And the story of DeepSeek, it's just one part of it.
One piece of the puzzle.
But it really shows us, like, what the big themes are.
The rise of China, the challenge to the U.S., the power of open source, the need to think about ethics.
Yeah, like, all the big stuff.
We're just starting to see how this is all going to play out.
It's both exciting and a little scary.
For sure.
But it's definitely a time of, like, huge opportunity.
Yeah, and responsibility.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We hope you found it, interesting and something to think about.
Absolutely.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep learning.